Hello, Cities Skylines fans. I'm Socksway Up, and welcome back to another episode of Chillhorn. Today, we're jumping right into it. We're going to lay down every single factory, try to make as much profit as possible. If you've missed how we've gotten this far, check out the playlist. You can see how we built all 4 industries from the industry DLC to unlock every single factory to allow us to get to this point of the build. We're not going to spend any time going over each building. We could do that in another episode later on if you'd like, but the main focus of this is getting them up and running, organizing the area, trying to make as much money as possible, and then also going back to those industries, adding more buildings that we may need more resources. Looks like we might need some more glass and maybe metals. We're going to let these things kind of cycle through, get all the vehicles into town, drop off all the goods and see where we're at, and then at that point we'll make some adjustments and possibly increase our output of some of our industries. And here's a good example of us doing that. We're going to go over to the forest industry. We're not producing enough paper, it seems, at this point. You can see here we're only making 9 tons. We are making 29 ton of the timber, so we should be okay with that. So we're going to go here, find our pulp mill, get some more paper pumped out, and hopefully that'll be good enough for the city. We're gonna find an area to put it down right about there. That should work. At this point, we're kind of taking a peek at the pollution. We want to make sure we're not adding too much to that neighborhood that's just to the north of the industrial complex here. So we're adding this building. We're gonna move the food factory. You can see it's busting out 9,600 a week at this point. Pollution's okay. Those houses should be fine. They won't get sick. Yeah, 9,600 profit from that building. Profit's insane at this point. You can see right now we're fluctuating. We are going up to around 90,000 down to 70,000. We hit 100,000 just from the warehouses themselves or the entire industries themselves. But here you see the soft paper factory. It's already doing 11,500. We increased it a little bit to try to get more. Then we play around with some of these warehouses again. We empty them. I don't know if it makes a difference. We've talked about this in other episodes. It doesn't seem to work. They were set to balance, so I figured might as well set them to empty. Do that with a few here. You can see this one's for some animal products as well. So we're gonna get those emptied out hopefully, and they'll send more of their goods to the warehouses or the factories, I should call them. This seems like plastic is another thing we're gonna have to focus on. So we'll probably have to get the plastic production back up and running, or increase the productivity of that, I guess I should say. Petroleum's fine. You can see that warehouse earlier that we showed had a ton of petroleum in it, so we should be good there. Other areas will probably start getting rid of some of the industry here and moving some factories around and get this designed a little bit better, because it's just kind of laid down and chaotic at this point. You can see we're just picking up some random buildings and putting them where we want them long term. This is the printing press. It's short of plastics again, so we're gonna have to focus on that here in a second. Then we stare at our profit again after we added the 1 plastic building. 170,000 total profit a week. We don't really sustain it very long, but we know what our maximum profit is. If we could get all of the factories completely populated with goods, we'd know how much money we could make on a week. And the entire city can make 125,000 a week. That is a ridiculous amount of profit. Again, we don't sustain it for very long or very often, but it does fluctuate up and down to that range quite a bit throughout this build. Pretty insane what you can do with these factories in the industry DLC. I've seen some videos out there with some hacks using toll booths and the parks I think they use, or maybe they put the park entrance on a road. I can't remember. You can find them out there, the hacks for making a ridiculous amount of profit with the parks DLC. You don't have to do that. You can just use the factories. You make plenty of money, more than you'll need to ever spend really in the game. I guess you could build a lot of the unique buildings and spend a lot of the money and get your balance out of whack, but this is a good way to do it. In my opinion, I love industry DLC because of this. That's why I try to exclusively use the industry DLC as much as I can for my industry buildings, at least late game in the vanilla playthroughs that I do, and we're doing that here as well, of course. Now the rest of this video, we're just kind of organize this area, show you the final product, where we're sitting with our factories, making mad profit. Couldn't be happier with the way it's turning out. I love it. Well, I'm a big doofus. Of course, I forgot to record the ending of this episode. So we're back in it. We're trying not to show any spoilers. This is the way it turned out. I love it. I say that a lot, but I do love the way this section turned out. It's exactly how I envisioned it when I first kind of drew out the layout of the roads, and I knew we were going to fill it in, and we left it empty for quite a while. But stop looking in the background. I see you looking in the background trying to see spoilers. Yeah. All right, so let's take a little peek here. The electronics factory is making us about 6,700. The industrial steel plant, 6,400. The car factory, 8,200. The lemonade factory, 2,200. Clothing factory, 9,600. Sneaker factory is short on paper. Over here in the food factory, we're short on paper. Gotta fix that. And this is post edit, so we never fix that. Oh man. Let's reduce the production on this one. We don't need 120% because once we get the paper, we use it right away. I'm sure they're coming in. We're still creating paper. Modular factories really low on timber. So our forest industry is not big enough, it appears. Sneaker factory is waiting on paper. Let's find our other industries. I know there's one more at least. Not there. There we go. The bakery, 3,800 at the bakery. Not too shabby. That's a early one that we unlocked pretty early on in the city. It's coming along nice. It's still producing pretty well. I dig it. That's going to be about it for this episode as we take one final look at this area. Again, it filled out pretty nice. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit from it. Just kind of seeing the benefit of using all the factories and why I do try to build out every single industry DLC, industry, the forest, the oil, the ore, and the farming industries, because the profit you can make is ridiculous. And that's why we did it, so we could unlock all these factories and get all the profit coming and making a ton of money for this city so that we can do whatever we want with the expansion of it. That's going to wrap up this episode. I'm Socksway Up. We're going to hit you with the next episode of this tomorrow. See you then.